Alright, I'm back with another quick update. This time it's my orchard area right down there, but I wanted to start out with my blueberries. So the blueberries are just starting to come out of hibernation. Maybe you can make it out. These cameras have poor focus up close, but the buds are starting to break. And the other thing, I came out here earlier and broke off all the tips of my kale. Oh, Ash didn't like that, but anyways, you look here. There is a, they're all starting to bolt. Oh, this one too. So I've been coming out here breaking these off. I just added some organic fertilizer mix that I made to all of these beds to help them come out of dormancy. And if you look at these have been doing really well. I mean, that one when I took the first update was more like that. And so they've all come back pretty well. And these have been overwintered. So I'm pretty excited about that. And I wanted to go through and give a detailed actual update of all of the varieties of things that I planted. So I'll start with this one. I'll show you that everything except for a couple of things has got some pretty definitive bud growth. But so right here, this variety is a Q18 peach. I'm just going to go off and name all of these. This one is a autumn rose peach, and if you notice at the ground here, I've added some well composted manure and sawdust and some organic fertilizer mix. And then I'll go here. This is a cribich nectarine. I got two of these, and this one here is also a cribich. And if you look, it's even got a fruit bud, I think, or a blossom right there. That's cribich. So my nectarines are doing really well. Some of my other stuff is doing even better. So this is a cherry gold colt. So this is a golden cherry, and all the buds, we got a bunch of buds on there. If you notice, I cut this one back to just a stick because it didn't have any branches, and it was just a single stick when I got it. So here's another cherry, and look at the buds on this. They're going really good. This variety is a Rainier. Ooh, look at this. This one has buds everywhere. I don't know if you can make it out. This is Oregon Curl Free, and that's a peach tree. Curl Free is highly resistant to peach leaf curl, which affects quite a lot of things around here. This is an Avalon Pride peach. Now for the peaches, the place that I got them from all has leaf curl resistant varieties, but some of them are more resistant than others. So this is a Williams Pride apple. And all my apples are on M26, which is a dwarf rootstock. This is an Ashmead's Kernel. And I got this one because it's supposed to be very, very flavorful. But I'm not too hopeful about this tree right now. I cut it back, it didn't have any branches to begin with. But all of the buds here, this really hasn't started to bud yet. So I'm thinking maybe it has died. Here's another apple. This is Winooch Early. And these should start fruiting or ripening in July, early August. With my apples, I got two varieties that ripen in summer, two varieties that ripen in early fall, and two varieties that ripen in late fall. So here's a Yubaline peach. No, Yubaline pear. And this one barely looks like it's going to like the buds are barely live, so this one should make it, but if it doesn't, then I'll be sad. This is Cordia, which is a sweet cherry, and this would be my last cherry. This one's growing really well. I don't know if you can see all the buds, but all of the branches have buds. They got stuff all the way down it. And this is a Black Republican. And so next year I'll definitely buy a lot more trees. I'll get some more types of fruit, and then I'll get more varieties of the existing fruit that I have, and I maybe get multiple types depending on what grows really well here. This is an Orcas pear. This is actually found growing on Orcas Island, so I figured this would do excellent here, and I think it should. Orcas Island is to the west of here, and it's similar climate except for maybe a little bit warmer. Now this one is Cox's Orange Pippin. Cox's Orange Pippin is supposed to be the best tasting apple ever. I think that it doesn't store very well, so that it's not widely grown, and I think the important thing about it is that it pretty much apparently produces only every other year. So so that could be disappointing if you count on it being produced yearly. This is a Honeycrisp, and this one has a leaf coming up there growing. And then the final tree that I've got, I believe, is another apple, Spitzenberg. And I believe I got this because I think Spitzenberg was Thomas Jefferson's favorite apple. So I think I've got enough time, so I'm going to run over here. Yep. Alright, so this is my raspberry, strawberry, and blueberry patch. So I wanted to show you the growth on the strawberries. So the strawberries look good. They're definitely doing good. All along the ridge here is strawberries. Then in the center here are some raspberries. So my raspberries are the buds are breaking. I wanted to show you some over here. So this one's doing the best by far, and I just added some fertilizer to these two. This one's doing well. And the rest, the strawberries are doing great, as you can see down there. And then my blueberries just starting to shoot out leaves. And the blueberries that I put in this year will probably produce maybe 4 or 5 blueberries each, depending on how well they adapt to their new home. But the previous ones that I put in last year, I put in 9 last year, they should produce maybe a handful each, so that should be good. And then the year after, these should all produce next year these should all produce a handful, and then the year after that they should all be producing a pound or 2 pounds each. And then I'll have a good amount of blueberries, be able to make blueberry smoothies every day and freeze some hopefully. And the strawberries this year, all of these strawberries should produce maybe a handful of strawberries each, or maybe a pound of strawberries each over the course of the year. They're all ever-bearing. I expect them to start producing in June or July. And there's a crying baby that I have to go save. Ayla, come on. Alright, so the other thing I did in here was last night I came through and direct seeded some cover crops. I put some alfalfa. I was hoping that I was smart enough to order clover, but I did not. I did alfalfa instead. Alfalfa is perennial, should overwinter, and you can mow it several times. And I just wanted a good nitrogen fixing thing that I could use as a mulch and cover crop. I also put in some Asian greens, some bok choy, pak choy, and some mustard. And I may have put one more thing in here, but I can't for the life of me remember what it was. And hopefully some of the more edible and palatable greens, like the bok choys, will come up and do well in here. But if not, then the alfalfa should all come up, and that will be good, and that'll be usable. So I'll actually tell you the plans that I have. So I ordered a bunch of miner's lettuce and a bunch of corn salad. So I'm really excited. Maybe I didn't order corn salad, but anyways, with the miner's lettuce will apparently grow under snow even, and it's native to California, and in places like Russia, and it even grows and overwinters in Russia with snow on it. And so what I'm going to do is I ordered, I think, a pound of this stuff, of the seeds. I'm going to go all throughout my forest around here, all through here. Oh, here you get a good panoramic view of everything. But I'm going to go all over here, and especially in through this area, and just direct seed some miner's lettuce in the fall, or in the late summer, so that I can, in the winter time, come out here and just go around and harvest everything. Look for it and harvest it, and I think it'll be a great source of extra greens for me. So that will be exciting. Alright, so I've done a couple of more things in the yard. The one thing was I prepared this bed right here. Earlier this year I rototilled it and covered the bed with black plastic to keep the soil a little bit dry. Yesterday I uncovered it. I wish I would have waited until today to uncover it, but what I did was, this is going to be an experimental bed. So I had originally planned on getting all of the or getting a bunch of that composted manure and sawdust.
A new horse.
Please don't dig in there, Ash. And was going to mix it in, and I started that process. I got all the manure in here, and I started mixing it in, or turning it over with a shovel, and then I realized that I had done a video on a grow test with this composted manure, and even in the straight manure, all of the seeds germinated, and they all grew. They didn't die from the compost being too rich. And so when I got from here to around here, I realized that, hey, I will not spend that extra work, and I will just direct seed stuff into here. And so what I did was I got my spinach, my Swiss chard, some lettuce, some mustard greens, some dino kale, and some beets, and some cilantro. And I just mixed it all up here and scattered it in here. And then I turned over, or just raked over the top layer here to get the seeds a little bit covered. And I am waiting for it, for things to start growing. And I based on what grows well here, then I can make, or based on what starts coming up here, I should have to start thinning things. I should have to thin things, but I think that the bed will come up pretty well full, and based on whatever comes up, I can make other beds like this. Just throw in some compost manure on top of it, because I got tons of it left still, and then just throw seeds on it and wait for things to grow. And most likely what I'll do is I'll just, instead of rototilling the bed, I'll just take up grass, because I've got all this area too, which I also threw some Asian greens and mostly this green bok choy that I got a really good deal on. I got a really big packet of it, so I just took a handful of it and started throwing it out everywhere. And then hopefully it'll come in. And then if you notice this bed, I finished this bed. So this bed is about 28 feet long by 4 feet wide, and I've packed it full at this point. And let me see if I can come in right and show you what's in here. So there we go. Let me see if I can enlarge this hole a little bit. So there we go. I've got some Asian greens in here, some lettuce. Down in the bottom where you can't see by the camera, I've got some purple kohlrabi. Here, if we go all the way down here, the zoom on this is also pretty weak. But down there I've got a bunch of different types of kale. And yeah, just kale. Some Vates blue kale, some dino kale, some red Russian kale, some Pentland brig kale, and some garden mix kale, or wild garden kale. I think I've only got 3 or 4 of the wild gardens, so I'm interested to see how they turn out. But this bed should produce at least $1,000 worth of food, of greens, maybe even $3,000, depending on how you price things. So there's about 120 square feet of planting in here, and each plant will produce between at least 1 bunch of greens and maybe up to 4 bunches of greens. And so at $2.50 for an organic bunch of greens, you can do the math there. I've got maybe 4 bunches of greens times 100 is 400 times 2. Oh, maybe I guess only about $1,000 worth of greens here. Either way, that's a substantial amount. And when you add it in with this bed and this bed and that bed and that bed and all in there, I've got a substantial amount of stuff growing in here. So, one last thing. So I will show you how well this bed is doing, because I'm excited about this one. Everything in here is doing very, very well. Haven't looked at it for a couple of days, but if we look at it, there's some slug damage there. We gotta throw down some more slug bait. Yeah, the slug bait. Oh, there's still slug bait in there. But this is either my broccoli and cabbage. So there's the early mountain Wakefield and early Jersey Wakefield cabbage in here, and immature collard green back there. And that's it for now.